on the line for you in every round here.
Yeah, we've played 8 rounds of Magic here to get to this point, and now every match has hundreds of dollars, invites to events that are worth a lot on the line. These are the money rounds.
That's right. And here we go. Wesley Hickman on your right, Fred Stryker on your left. Gruul versus Mono Red. This one could end in a flash, or, hey, sometimes these aggro v aggro decks just trade removal and no one has anything, right?
Yeah, they can play out in a couple different ways, and the early turns here are trade. Fred Stryker going with Burst Lightning on turn 1 to answer the Hired Claw. Hickman replaces the Hired Claw, and now we'll see if Stryker decides to deploy his own creatures or has another removal spell, and he goes with Heartfire Hero. Typically, the red mirrors favor mono red, but as the games go long, the card advantage out of the Gruul deck becomes a lot more important. Stryker has 2 copies of Questing Druid in his main deck. He has a couple copies of Paw Patch Recruit that can represent 2 creatures and make the opposing burn spells awkward. And then Innkeeper's Talent, which he has 4 of, can start growing your creatures and really give you dominance over the battlefield. So Stryker, being on the draw here as the 6 seed and being the deck's favorite going along, is going to want to play a more controlling game, whereas Hickman is going to be the beatdown.
And he's doing that decently well with 2 creatures here, and just the Heartfire Hero, and now the class card for Stryker. But this is what you mean. Instead of this, the talent, of course, is great in the long games against many decks. It provides many advantages, but it is not a creature. So were Fred to lose his Heartfire Hero here, like for instance, maybe this Burst Lightning, then things might go differently, and he might just get overrun by the pure creature plan out of Wesley.
That was a big turn. If Stryker had Monstrous Rage, and that's why you saw Hickman pause there. It wasn't obvious to run out that Burst Lightning, but he determined that he had to take the risk there because that was his only chance to deal with that Heartfire Hero with the Innkeeper's Talent, going to give it 2 counters effectively, 1 from Valiant and 1 from the Talent.
That's right.
So he takes the risk and he gets paid off, and now Hickman definitely ahead here.
Okay, so we got Burst Lightning off the trigger, and this works out because we can shoot down the Heartfire Hero and get in here with these creatures. So this has been a really nice series of draws for Wesley. Been incredibly mana efficient. Been pretty well aggressive here. He, of course, had the play by virtue of being the higher seed. Looking pretty good for him right now.
There should be 6 coming across. The Amber Heart Challenger was pumped by the Village and Prowess from the Burst Lightning, and then the Hired Claw comes across for 2. So Stryker down to 10 life and has no battlefield to speak of. And look, drew Monstrous Rage for turn. A little bit late there.
Right.
Would have loved to have seen a Screaming Nemesis here to play a little defense. That would have been great. Make it a 4/4, hold it back. But just as Ember Heart Challenger, what can he find off the top with Valorant? And it's a Copperline Gorge.
Okay. Ooh. Well, chooses to get aggressive here.
Okay, Stryker saying, I'm going to try to race. That's going to be tough here. He comes across for 3 and now just levels the talent. This game could end. Monstrous Rage off the top for Hickman.
Yeah.
This is already 4. The Rage represents another 4. That's 8.
10 life, very much danger zone. There we go.
Yep. Ember Heart Challenger will do it too. Yeah. Land was fine. Just pump Hired, use the Rock Face Village and then pump Hired Claw after its attack trigger. But the Ember Heart Challenger will do it as well.
Hickman has put together just what is essentially a series of combo looking turns over the last couple rounds we've watched him play, where, it's not put you down to 9, put you down to 6, put you down to 3, put you down to 0. It's put you down from 12 to 0, put you down from 14 to 0. It's just huge turns coming out of the mono red deck.
That is the power of Monstrous Rage. Already a 3-point pump spell, has so much synergy with the Valiant Mice. It frequently represents a lot more than 3 damage on the turn that you cast it.
All right, taking a look at the sideboards here. Both players trying to stare down a bunch of opposing 1 and 2 drops that they have to answer. What do you look towards here?
Okay, so from Fred Stryker's position, like I said, he wants the games to go long. He has more card advantage even in the post-sideboard games. So I'm looking at Pyroclasm. I'm looking at Obliterating Bolt. I'm even looking at Scorching Shot. Bolt has the upside of being able to exile things like Heartfire Hero, but Scorching Shot can deal with a creature that's gotten big. And I just want all of my removal in if I'm playing from the Gruul side of this matchup.
That's right. And Fred Striker will, of course, have the advantage of being on the play for this one. Let's go ahead and look at the other one. Look at Wesley's mono red aggro here.
Yeah, looking at his sideboard, I like the cheap removal to be able to play that aggressive game plan. So the additional shocks will come in to supplement Burst Lightning. And then he has a couple options. And those options are Scorching Shot if he wants the big removal as well. Potentially advisable if there are still Innkeeper's Talents in the Striker's deck. And then he might also want access to Case of the Crimson Pulse, get himself a little bit of card advantage going. If you play those early turns and both players just trade off creatures and removal spells,
Right.
A Case as your last card to refuel and then eventually solve and start drawing extra cards every turn can really take over a game.
Yeah, Case of the Crimson Pulse is a fun sideboard card that has a really niche use, but a really strong use. I'll say this about the mono red sideboard. I love just the fact that shock is in it and that it is a card we're talking about being good here. I don't remember if it was this last Pro Tour or Worlds or something, but we saw people playing the equivalent of like actual giant growth at the Pro Tour. And to me, Magic is always in a great spot when people are able to play giant growth and shocks. And
Completely agree.
yeah,
That's a sign of format health if
yeah.
shock is a playable card.
Exactly. And that's, hey, it's sideboard. I'll take it. 3 copies in the sideboard. And it's probably one of the more important cards here, right? Along with the burst lightnings of being able to interact for 1 mana with your opposing board's creatures.
Yeah, definitely an important card. You want 1 or 2 shocks basically in your opening hand in these red mirrors to make sure that you don't fall too far behind. Because if you let an Emberheart Challenger sit around on the battlefield for a couple turns, it can represent a lot of additional cards off of those Valiant triggers. If you let Manifold Mouse sit on the battlefield or Heartfire Hero for a couple turns, it represents so much damage, you're probably dead.
Yeah, and Lightning Strike, while obviously having the benefit being 3 damage, and we've often seen it go upstairs, is not really great when you're on the draw in particular, and you need to really catch up here. So both players are going to be looking for that cheap interaction. It looks like we catch a look at Fred's hand here. Not sure if he has enough mana to work with.
I see Torch of the Tower. I see a green card, Burst Lightning. Yeah, I think the only issue here might be mana.
Wesley also looks like thinking it through. We know what both players are looking for, of course, is that early interaction. And if you're Wesley, you're more inclined to look for an aggressive start because you are on the play. Whereas if you're Fred, and this is, I don't think something we're going to see here, but in the old, mono red mirror days, you'd sometimes occasionally see people take the draw with the idea that we're just going to kill each other's creatures for the first 4 turns. And I'd like to be up a card. Don't think we're going to see that here, but that can give you an idea of how this might play out and, why mulliganing, for instance, can be kind of rough based on the context of the draws. But it looks like Wesley's actually going to do the same here, and both players are going to go to 6.
And the threats these days are a little bit too powerful and snowbally to take the draw. But I remember those days playing Mog War Marshal and Greater Gargadon. I chose the draw in those mirror matches in 2007.
Boomer Magic, as they call it. That was around the time I started.
Love me a Greater Gargadon. Hey. Okay, so both players on 6. Friendly mulligan here. Have to say that generally will advantage the player on the draw.
Right.
Since smaller hands means you're less likely to get run over, and then the extra card advantage from being on the draw becomes more decisive, but it's a very small difference.
Also more likely to just have a straightforward hand when you're playing mountains is Wesley. Fred looks like he's got a couple there. Both players are keeping, and here we go off to the races. Game 2 of our top 8 here. We have the final 8 remaining. Very aggro heavy, along with 3 Azorius decks. Top 8, the NRG Standard Showdown Series here in Wisconsin.
It's all aggro, combo, and control. No mid range. You love to see it.
You do love to see it as a from the coverage side of things. Let's keep those creatures attacking. Let's go.
Okay, so Lightning Strike takes out the Emberheart Challenger, and Hired Claw comes across, and
all right. Monstrous Rage is a pickup there for Fred for the turn. I don't know if I spy a third land though, which makes things. Oh no, yeah, just the creature here, not a third land, but the Manifold Mouse, the showcase art there, looks pretty good and is a pretty good 2-drop in this
Yeah,
circumstance. Going to demand an answer from Wesley. Oh,
it
or
may, it
not,
may
or just
not.
pure
Yeah.
aggression.
The thing about Manifold Mouse is that it's not a very good blocker. So if you're the one who's the beatdown, which Wesley Aikman wants to be,
Yeah.
and you're not afraid of being attacked back, you're not that afraid. You can attack into a Manifold Mouse. He does just that with Screaming Nemesis, and now Striker might be pushed into a racing scenario that he's not well equipped to win.
Yeah, he doesn't have a third land.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to deploy his spells that quickly, and it's very difficult to play the grindy game when your opponent has Screaming Nemesis because every one of your burn spells you're going to get 2-for-1 casting it.
Yeah,
So
and sometimes you can just kind of bite the bullet and just do it and deal with it. But in this case, with just the 2 lands, gosh, you'd be giving up so much. All right, the mouse gets in, and the follow-up play is going to be another mouse.
it didn't block well last turn. It doesn't block well this turn.
Yeah, Wesley just moving straight on into combat here. No delay. The trigger from that lizard, the hired claw. Knock Striker down to 13. I guess, I mean, the mouse actually does block last turn. This turn, though, it's more of a chump block as the pump goes through.
Yeah, Fred says, I have plenty of spells back. I just need to buy time. So he's okay forcing Hickman to spend the mana that way and try to get back into this. I think he's got some Screaming Nemesis of his own that he wants to deploy, but still just stuck on the 2 lands.
Yeah, I think he might have been hoping that either, forcing Wesley to activate there takes enough of his mana that he's not able to do anything else, like if he's still stuck on lands, or if he just has all lands. But he does have a follow-up with the Heartfire Hero. So it's 3 creatures, including that Screaming Nemesis, staring down just 10 life for Striker, who it seems missed again on lands. So really difficult spot for him to be in here to get to the top 8, have to be on the draw in the aggro mirror, and then not be able to find a third land, not the breaks he was looking for. On the other hand, Wesley, we've watched him over the last few rounds, has really made just the pure basic mono red. And I don't say basic in a negative way, but it's a straightforward deck with a straightforward game plan that is not as easy to play as you might think. And Wesley's really done a great job of navigating its edges over the last few rounds to get to this point.
Yeah, he has a clear advantage in this game, but he's pressing that advantage, not going for too much, making sure he still generates value when he's offered it, like activating that Hired Claw.
Right.
He knows that if he gives his opponent any window to catch back up, that's the way he can lose the game by potentially being too aggressive in a certain spot.
All right, Manifold Mouse stays back again. Removal spell takes down the claw, but 9 life for Striker. A little bit of a smile on his face as the Screaming Nemesis comes through and takes him down to 6.
Not a great turn here from Hickman, just coming across with the Nemesis and then playing and pumping a Hired Claw. But with Striker at 6 life, beating the Screaming Nemesis alone is very tough.
Yeah, especially like you can't even dealing exactly 3 to it is really difficult without lightning strike in hand. You end up dealing 4, which gets you burned for even more. I think we might be in the very end game here because the Heartfire Hero, even if it doesn't, and there are no rock face villages or anything for Hickman to generate easy valiant triggers, but it's just an additional body on a board where your opponent is mana screwed and can't deploy the 3 drops in their hand. So just any creature there for Wesley was going to be decent, and Hired Claw was a pretty good one.
Yeah, Striker's hand looks to be a bunch of Screaming Nemesis and Monstrous Rages, so he was actually well set up to try to race this game, but needed to hit at least a 3rd land, maybe even a 4th one to do so, and his deck did not deliver the goods.
All right, we'll see if Wesley can close it out here. Creatures are turned sideways. The trigger, that's what they're marking down there from the Hired Claw, will burn Striker down to 5 before any blocks can occur.
Yeah, so it has to chump the Hired Claw to live at 1, and there's a shock in Hickman's hand, so this should be game.
Hey, we talked about shock. It makes an appearance for the win.
Yeah, this is the classic use of shock.
That's right.
So Monstrous Rage on the Manifold Mouse, a pump from the Hired Claw means that those two should trade. 4-power Mouse against 4 toughness Claw.
And there we go. Shock to the face. Handshake is out. Wesley Hickman on to the semifinals here in Madison, our 10K standard showdown. That went as fast as we expected. Maybe not quite as back and forth as we might have hoped, but hey, it's mono red, it's Gruul. That is the story of the weekend right there, is aggro to the max.
Yeah, if you stumble against these decks, they will punish you. But we've also seen the other side of it where they can recover from removal spells and sweepers and set up those sort of combo finishes like you were talking about. So these red decks, are not one-trick ponies. They can win in a variety of ways.
And we might be seeing some of might be seeing some of that here into the backup match. Connor Pattinson on your right, Sean Gallagher, who we watched in that winning in on Azorius Control on your left. Catching up to the board, looks like a temporary lockdown's got some stuff underneath it. We got an impending Overlord. It's about to come off. Ibiza has landed. Looks like we're moving to blocks here on the Heartfire Hero. Sean, though, at just 5 life, staring down a couple rock face villages out of the Boros build here from Connor Pattinson. Okay, Fountain Port hits the battlefield. The Overlord impends itself to a creature. We talked about the reach and resiliency of the red decks. That's what Connor needs right now to finish this one off.
Yeah, just needs a little bit more. He has one game won.
He is really close, right? Because if you're playing against the red deck and you stare down a Heartfire Hero at 5 life with multiple counters, you start thinking about how any burn spell is representing lethal.
Monstrous Rage could do it. There's a lot here, but when you're playing the red deck, it's you don't have a lot of card selection to dig for that one last spell to push you over the top.
And this Boros deck has full-on 10 burn spells that can get the job done from here with Lightning Helix, Burst Lightning, and Boros Charm. So a lot of outs for Pattinson here, trying to finish it out, trying to move on to the semifinals as well. But needs to come up with just a little bit more here to finish off the Azorius Control player. Didn't catch what the pickup there was, but he does have a grip of cards in hand.
Yeah, and that's got to be scary for Sean Gallagher.
Yeah, there's so many things that, if you're Sean, there's so many cards that just beat me right here. I don't know if this is one of them, but it's something. Slick shot show off for Connor Pattinson, followed up by a Boros Charm pointing towards you. I think the slick shot was to see if and
now both creatures are effectively lethal.
Yeah.
Gallagher going to be at 1 life and can't really block the Heartfire Hero because he has nothing that can block the Heartfire Hero without killing it in combat. The show-off is also lethal.
Yeah, not sure what it looks like players are maybe chatting with the judge here. There we go. That'll do it. It all resolves. Boros Charm to the face. The attack finishes it off. Connor Pattinson onto the semifinals at the NRG Showdown. Well, here we go. That was a nice one, Ross. We got through 2 great quarterfinal matches. And just like that, I think we may be pretty soon on to the semis here in Madison.
Yeah, Azorius Control out. It's all red decks and Omniscience combo from here on.
Well, it will be it'll be at a very opposite ends of the spectrum, top 4, as we talked about earlier, which means there's something for everybody here. So stick with us. We will see you on the other side of the break as we hit the semifinals here at our 10K NRG Open. See you on the other side.